Buenos días, buenas tardes, or buenas noches, depende de la hora. So right now we are going to talk a little bit more and look at some ideas of how to use conjugation. It seems like something that's very difficult, but actually it ends up helping us tell more with just a single word. So when we conjugate, we find out the action, we find out who does that action, and we find out when that person does the action or when that thing or has that emotion. Um, that's what conjugation tells us. In English, we need multiple words to get that same kind of information across. In Spanish, we just need one word most of the time. So to do this, so for example, if I use hablar, and we're going to talk in the present indicative, it's called, it means that it's action that happens now, and it can still be happening. So like I talk. I talk a lot. So I'm talking a lot right now, but I also talk a lot just in general. That's just what happens. That's considered present tense. So all verbs have two parts to it. We have what can be called the stem, which tells us the action. So this right here tells us the action, the habl. And then we have the ending, and that tells us how we need to conjugate it, what ending we need to use. So with this, as I was saying before, I want to talk about myself. So I want to tell you that I talk a lot. So I know I'm talking about myself, which is my yo. Looking at our endings, the first one is always the O. That means I need to take this stem, the H-A-B-L, and then I stop typing or talking, and I grab the ending that I need that matches yo. So in this case, it's O. Yo hablo. And I said I talk a lot, so yo hablo mucho. Now here's the thing. I can also just say hablo mucho. That is a little more advanced, more natural. You'll almost never hear a native speaker use the word yo unless it's for emphasis, because hablo already tells us that. So hablo mucho. Now, suppose I want to know then, do you talk a lot? Now, I can't just use hablo again, because I need to say, I need to use the to ending. So I'm going to use my question mark, and I start again with the H-A-B-L, but now I want to know the to ending. Well, that's going to be the second one here, the as, which you can see more easily on the charts that you should already have in your notes or on the page prior to this. So that's the ending I'm going to add here. Hablas, it's a question, so I put the to after the conjugated verb. Hablas tú mucho? Do you talk a lot? Notice here then, the hablas. I know the action is talking because of H-A-B-L. In both of them, the action is the same. What's different is who does it. The speaker in the first one, and then who the speaker is talking to in the second one. Now, we do this with all of them. So oftentimes we do the comer, we've seen a lot. Same sort of idea. Como mucho chocolate, because apparently I'm doing everything a lot today. So who are we talking about? This comes from the verb comer, to eat. Notice once again, we have our verb ending is er. That just tells us how we should change the ending when we need to change it. But the com, is related to food and eating. You'll notice that like comida is food. Notice it has a com at the beginning of it. That goes along with that. Okay? They're related to each other. So here, when you see the verb como mucho chocolate, okay, so we can even separate that out and say, okay, the com means I eat, or it means eat. I apologize. It means eat. It's the O that lets us know that it's whoever is speaking is the one who's eating with that. Now, something that kind of gets people sometimes is if we were to say, mi hermana y yo comemos el desayuno or el almuerzo. So we eat lunch. Okay. Now notice there's a yo right here, but in front of that is the e, the and. So that means it's not just me talking about myself, it's me with this other person as well. Therefore, this ending, and we'll see, the com still has to deal with eating, and then the EMOS comes from our ending EMOS, meaning nosotros. So anytime we see somebody's name or a grouping like this, so we might say Rafael. So to know how to conjugate to match Rafael, we have to think about what what subject pronoun could we replace it with. Think in English. Instead of saying somebody's name, what can I say instead? And so instead of saying Rafael, Ralph, what could I say instead to refer back to Rafael? I can use he. In Spanish, that means él, which then means that our ending that we can look for, and if we're dealing with comer, it's an ER ending verb, means it's an E. That's our ending there. So this is, for those of you who are getting confused when you just see somebody's name or kind of their title, sister in this case, we have to think about, well, what could we replace? What could we say instead of the person's name or instead of their title? And that's we can refer back to English for that. It means él and ella. There is no word for it in Spanish for subject pronoun because everything has a gender, so it's an él or an ella. That just means we use that same ending. All right, so I hope that this has been helpful. Let me know what questions you have y hasta luego.